Hello and welcome to B.Hooked Crochet's Crochet Challenge for Warm Up America. In this video demonstration, I'm going to talk about how to create block number 1 of our pattern. Block number 1 of our pattern is essentially just a solid granny square. Now we're going to be using 5 different rounds, and we're going to be using a size 6.5mm hook. You will need to create 18 of block number 1 in your background color, as well as 9 other block number 1 using the other colors in your color palette. So depending on how many different colors you choose, this number is going to differ a little bit from person to person. I'm going to be using a total of 5 colors in addition to my background, so I have chosen to do 2 of block number 1 in 4 of those colors, and then just 1 of block number 1 in the remaining color. So the total there is 9 as well. To begin block number 1, we need to start off with a slip knot. And we're going to start off working in the round here a little bit different than maybe what you're used to. We're going to use a chain as our center ring instead of creating a ring or a magic loop. So from here, once you have your slip knot on your hook, go ahead and chain 6. Okay, and let's talk about this chain a little bit. As I mentioned before, the bottom chain, so the very first chain we created, is going to act as our ring. Then 3 of these chains are going to act as a double crochet, and then 2 of the chains are going to act as a corner for the square that we're beginning to form. So I do my solid granny squares slightly different than what you may see on other channels or in other patterns. I like to hide my chain 3 so that way it doesn't form a seam all the way up the middle of your square. So we'll talk about that a little bit more as we go along. For now, we need to go ahead and create 3 double crochets into this first chain. Okay, and what we've done here is just complete one side of our square, and so we need to chain 2 in order to create another corner. And we're going to continue by double crocheting 3 more times into that first chain, so we're using that same chain as our ring. And there we've got 2 sides completed, and we want to chain 2 to form our next corner, and then double crochet 3 more times into that center. And now we'll chain 2 to make the last corner. And so we mentioned at the beginning that 3 of those chains from that chain 6 were going to act as a double crochet. And so they are acting as a double crochet, the very last double crochet for this round. So we just need to add 2 more double crochets into the center, and that's going to pair up with these 3 to make our third side, or our fourth side rather. So there's 1 and 2. Okay, and so to join off this round, we are going to join with a slip stitch to this second chain. So when I say second chain, I mean this is the first, this is the second. So this is the first chain of that chain 2 for the corner. This is the second. So just find that chain and slip stitch this round together. And that finishes off round number 1. So it's always a good idea to count your stitches if you're pretty new to crocheting, or if you're unfamiliar with solid granny squares, to count your stitches after every round. So after the end of round 1, you should have a total of 12 stitches. And now we're going to continue on with round 2. We want to chain 5. And the reason why we're chaining 5 is we are making 3 chains to be a double crochet and 2 to be the corner. So the reason why we're doing this is, again, because I do my solid granny squares slightly different. We're hiding these chains, and so you can keep that in mind if you're a little bit confused as to why we're doing things this way. So from here we're going to start on this next side. We need to make 2 double crochets into this chain 2 space. And then we want to make 1 double crochet into each of the next 3 stitches. And we want to be careful that we don't leave this double crochet out, because sometimes the opening to the chain, or the V there, or the opening to the stitch, or the V up at the top, is hidden by this last double crochet that we make. So we just want to make sure that we don't miss that, otherwise our stitch count will be off. And so we just want to double crochet into that stitch as well as the other 2 remaining double crochets. And then we want to make 2 double crochets into this chain 2 space. So as we add on each corner, we're going to make 2 double crochets, a chain 2, and 2 more double crochets. So that's something that you'll get used to when you're making this afghan. So we've got our 2 double crochets. We're going to chain 2 and then just rotate our square, and we're going to make 2 more double crochets into the same space. And now we'll make 1 double crochet into each of these next 3. Again, we don't want to forget this first double crochet. And then we'll make 2 double crochets into this chain 2 gap space in the corner. And a chain 2, and then we'll make 2 more double crochets, and 1 double crochet into each of the next 3 stitches. Two double crochet into this corner, chain 2, 2 more double crochet into that same space, and now as we work on the last side of the square, we want to make sure again we get that double crochet stitch at the very beginning. So that's our first, then we go into that second double crochet. So this is all normal, what we're used to. And it looks a little bit different because we started with this long chain at the beginning of the round. And so we want to make sure that we get a double crochet into this last stitch And this chaining of 3 is going to count as one of the double crochets from the corner. So remember I said there's 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 double crochets into each corner. So this chain 3 is counting as one of those. So we need to make another double crochet into this gap space there. So we're just going to wrap it around that section there, so catching that chain 3, and finish off the double crochet. And then we're going to join again with that same chain. So we've got first chain here, and there's the second chain. So we'll join that with a slip stitch to finish off the round. And as you can see, it kind of conceals that chain 3, however our stitch count is maintained. So at the end of round 2, you'll have a total of 28 stitches. To begin round number 3, we're going to make 5 chains, and then we'll continue on by making 2 double crochets into this chain 2 gap space, and then 1 double crochet into each of these, double crochet on the top there, so you should have a total of 7 of these. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 if your stitch count is correct. So make a 1 double crochet into each of the next 7 stitches. And when you've reached that first corner, you'll just make 2 double crochets, a chain 2, and 2 more double crochets. So this is all the same from the previous round, and actually the remainder of this granny square is the same as well. So nothing new or fancy here. The only difference is we're increasing our number of stitches. One double crochet into each of the next 7. Two double crochets, a chain 2, and 2 double crochets into that corner. Two double crochets, chain 2, and 2 double crochets into the next corner. and then make 1 double crochet into each of the next 7 stitches. So again, this is the side that's going to look a little different since it's our last side, so the one where we had that chain 5. But we're going to treat it exactly the same as we did the previous round. Okay, so we're going to put our 7th stitch right here, right next to that chain. And then we've got the chain 3 counting as another double crochet, and we just want to double crochet into that gap space right below. And then we're going to join with that same chain, so we'll skip this one and we'll join here. And that's going to finish off round 3. So at the end of round 3, you'll have a total of 44 stitches, and you want to go ahead and double check that so that we can maintain your proper stitch count. To begin round number 4, we're going to chain 5, and rotate your work and make 2 double crochets into that first corner. And then we'll make 1 double crochet into each of the next 11 stitches. And then make 2 double crochets, a chain 2 and 2 double crochets into the corner. And so this is our pattern repeat for round 4. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and finish up round 4, and then we'll meet back up and we'll start talking about the final round of block number 1. Okay, so when you've completed round number 4, you should have a total of 60 stitches, and we're going to continue on with the final round of block number 1, and it's actually exactly the same as all the previous rounds. We're going to start off by chaining 5, and then continue by making 2 double crochets into that first corner. And then we'll make 1 double crochet into each of the next 15 stitches. And once you've reached the next corner, make 2 double crochets, a chain 2 and 2 double crochets. So again, this is the pattern repeat for round number 5, and you'll just want to go ahead and continue and finish up round 5. We'll meet back up and we'll talk about binding off and weaving in our tails. When you finished up round 5, you'll have a total of 76 stitches, and at this point we can go ahead and bind off. So you want to leave yourself a tail that's a few inches long, and then just pull that tail through the loop on your hook. Okay, and now you just want to grab your darning needle and flip it over, and we'll weave in the 2 tails. So we've got the tail from the beginning, and we just want to try to work that under the stitches from the first round. So we'll just go around in a circle, and we don't want to pull too tight because we don't want to pull that closed. So just keep that in mind. Just work this under as far as you can. So you want to make sure that it doesn't come apart or it doesn't come out, and then just trim off that leftover, and then we'll work on this other end. And what I like to do for this particular end is work it basically over to this side and down, and I like to work it under these stitches right here. So to do that, I just go under, I just catch one of those loops, and then I just catch this bar right here. And so this isn't like a set in stone way, you don't have to do it this way, but I like to work it around this stitch because if you're not careful, you don't want to close up this corner. And so that's why I work it kind of in this general direction, and then I'm safe to just work it under a bunch of these stitches. So we'll just go forward in one direction. Again, you want to pull it tight enough that it's all the way through, but you don't want to pull it too tight that it collapses your corner. If that happens, then you can just go ahead and pull on it just like that, and then work back in the other direction. And then if you've got enough room, try to go under in the other direction a few more stitches just to make sure it's good and tight. And then we'll trim that off. And that's all there is to block number 1 for this crochet challenge. It's really simple. Like I said, they actually work up pretty quickly. So go ahead and finish up all of your block number 1 to complete your afghan, and move along to the next video where I'll demonstrate how to crochet block number 2.